Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. I'm looking forward to this one today. Football at 4 today is brought to you by the Atlantic City Airport. Plan your summer vacation now. Spirit Airlines is offering nonstop flights from Atlantic City International to Boston, Atlanta, San Juan, Miami, and other exciting destinations. Visit spirit.com. The AFC West might be the best. We're going to look at the 4 teams in the West with Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com as we continue our previews of the divisions leading up to Eagles training camp on July the 26th. All the training camp dates have been released, and we will be leading you right up to training camp July 26th. And on our way, we'll look at the NFL divisions. We've gone through the 3 in the AFC. This is the last one, week number 4 of our previews now with Andrew DiCecco as we take a look at the AFC West, Andrew, and this might be the most interesting, most competitive. It certainly has maybe the 4 best quarterbacks all residing in one spot, and this should be a good one. Let's start in Kansas City with the defending champion Chiefs, 12-5, and let's start with how different this offense might look without Tyreek Hill for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what they do without that bona fide deep threat. Obviously, they do have some speed guys in place, and Mecole Hardman, who really has not materialized as being anything more than a rotational, situational gadget type of player. And then they added Marquez Valdes-Scantling, of course, from the Green Bay Packers, who's a good vertical threat but struggles to catch the ball consistently. And I don't know that he's someone you can count on to be a competent number 2 or a consistent number 2 that you can lean on. So there's some questions there as far as the wide receivers go. Obviously, Travis Kelce is the mainstay there, and the offense is going to continue to run through him from a passing game standpoint. And I like some of the pieces on the offensive line. I like Creed Humphrey a lot, obviously. Joe Thuney, the left guard, is a player that I like, and they have Orlando Brown as well. So they have some guys there, but I just wonder how they're going to be able to manufacture the points that they were able to sort of rack up when they had Tyreek Hill and added a whole new dimension to their offense. And obviously with Patrick Mahomes, he's a dual threat in itself. So I would tend to lean as far as the offense isn't going to be totally capped without Tyreek Hill because you have Patrick Mahomes under center.
Yeah, I mean, does this to you signify a completely pivot, a different look from what their offense was, or do we see someone kind of fill that role?
Well, I don't know that anyone can really fill that role. I mean, they did draft Sky Moore, the wide receiver from Western Michigan, who I do like. But I mean, you're talking about Tyreek Hill, one of the better receivers in football. I don't know that you're going to be able to sort of manufacture his production or reproduce what he was able to put out there on the field. He's a game-changing type of player. And right now, outside of Travis Kelce, I don't know that they have another player that can even be comparable currently. So I think you're going to see a different offense. You're going to see one that I think that isn't going to be able to move the football, and it's going to have to gradually be able to move the football in certain points of the game instead of being able to rely on that big play that was always there with Tyreek Hill whenever the ball was in his hands. So you're going to see a different offense. But with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that's something that their teams are still going to have to plan for, obviously, and they're going to continuously strike fear into opposing defenses.
Yeah, they did bring in Juju Smith-Schuster from Pittsburgh. They still have Hardman. It seems like when a guy like Hardman got an opportunity, when there'd be a game or two where they needed him more, he produced. So I guess they figure, hey, let's just tap on somebody else, see if they can. But it's going to be hard-pressed to do what Tyreek Hill did. But you got the running game, too. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon's a nice name. They also have a couple of young guys there.
Yeah, they also have Ronald Jones, who's going to be their power running back, although he's someone who has struggled to hold on to the football and never really did well when he had an elevated role in Tampa Bay. So, but he's going to factor into the rotation. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a player I really like, but again, sort of like I liken it to a Brian Westbrook in that I don't know that he's someone that can handle a sustained amount of volume for the foreseeable future. And you saw he had an injury last year as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. But he's a player that's going to factor heavily in the passing game as well. You mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. He is a volume target monster type of guy, possession receiver, not someone that is really going to move the needle as far as the explosive plays are concerned and fill that void in that regard. But he's a veteran, he's a young veteran that's going to help Patrick Mahomes and be that safety valve over the middle. So they do have some pieces there to work with.
Andrew, you got an interesting defense here. I mean, obviously, they went and got Karlaftis in the first round of the draft. I think that's an interesting one. Nick Bolton at linebacker, Justin Reed at safety, Frank Clark on the edge. So this is a defense. Chris Jones, by the way, still there. So this is a very interesting Trent McDuffie they got as well. So this is a pretty interesting defense. When we think of the Chiefs, we think about a defense that has struggled in the past.
Yeah, particularly against the run, but also in the secondary, they've sort of given up they've been susceptible to giving up some yards, particularly at the cornerback spot. And I think right now when you added someone, Trent McDuffie, who's probably going to settle into that nickel role, I would imagine, and you have Juan Thornhill and Justin Reed, that's a pretty strong safety tandem. L'Jarius Sneed was the fourth-round pick, I believe, in 2020. Pretty long, physical corner. I think he's starting to come into his own a little bit there. And then you mentioned Karlaftis on the defensive line. He's a plug-and-play guy, going to be able to anchor in the running game, very strong, powerful at the point of attack. You love what you have there. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, obviously still there. Leo Chanel was a linebacker from Wisconsin who they drafted in the third round, who's going to be probably a weak side linebacker for them. And you mentioned Nick Bolton. So that all of a sudden you're starting to see some of the pieces come into place, and I'm going to be interested to see what Steve Spagnuolo is able to do with all these different components and how they fit.
All right, Chiefs obviously win the division last year. They were first place in the AFC West, and they have been a power in that AFC West. Who could catch them? Well, Vegas, 10-7 last year, and they made a huge splash in the offseason. Let's start with the new quarterback wide receiver tandem. Carr is back, but he's got a new toy to play with. And how do we see him and Davante Adams working out?
Oh, I believe they have a history that goes all the way back to Fresno State. So I'm going to be really interested to see what that connection's able to do here at the pro level. I think that having a guy that in Davante Adams, that's the best receiver in football until proven otherwise, that you can throw the football to in tight windows, and he's going to help in the red zone and open things up for everyone else on the field. I think that is someone that is going to immediately provide a boost to them in a big way, and that's really something that they need, obviously, from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, you look at is that passing game a one-man band, or do you like you got Waller there as well. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of fun that Derek Carr could have in this offense.
Well, you have Waller, who's obviously a game-changing tight end that you can move around formations. And you also have Hunter Renfrow, who quietly had a really strong season last year, really good in the short to intermediate areas of the field, one of the best route runners in football, to be quite frank with you, and someone that is going to factor in on third downs, and he's very sure-handed. So he really has a multitude of weapons to utilize at his disposal. Now the question remains: is he able to make the best use out of these guys? Right? I mean, Derek Carr is someone who has impressed in spurts, but he has not really been consistent enough to really put it all together. And now he has the pieces around him to make things happen offensively. And now it's just the question remains: is he going to be able to move the needle and move the offense forward to where they need to go?
Yeah, and this is a team too that Josh Jacobs has been kind of the guy there. What do you see in the running game with this Raiders team? Do we still feel that's an area? Jacobs, kind of slowing down a little bit. I feel like he's been banged up a little bit.
Yeah, Jacobs is somebody that I expected a lot out of, especially by this point in his career. He was someone that I obviously had rated as the top running back in his class, a volume guy, someone who has the speed and power, but also the finesse as well. I thought he was really well-rounded. I didn't know how he was going to transition as a pass catcher, but he has a very upright running style, which lends itself to bigger hits and ball security concerns down the line. But I think ultimately he's going to have to, if the Raiders really want to be a well-balanced attack and provide Derek Carr with the adequate support and have a well-balanced offense, they need Josh Jacobs to be able to slide in as that top running back and really provide that power element.
The Vegas Raiders, their defense, last year we saw them against the Eagles. They got after it with Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. Those guys are going to be an interesting combination as well. Now you've got, a very unique kind of defense here. Jonathan Abram, a very good safety man. I'm looking forward to seeing what this defense looks like because, we saw them against Philly get to the quarterback, but they had their ups and downs last year.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a defense that's going to be sort of streaky and not really consistent. But I tell you what, Max Crosby is a player that I really like, and I think he's really come into his own quite nicely. Of course, he's a player that wasn't really, he sort of fell under the radar coming out of the draft, but he's really emerged, and I think that he really is their most consistent pass rusher and someone that I think can only get better. When you look at what he's been able to do and where he's able to go, I think he's their most consistent pass rusher. And basically what I was saying is that I think he has room to grow, which is kind of scary when you think about it. I think he's yet to hit his ceiling. So I'm interested to see what he's able to do because he keeps continuing on this natural progression. So he's someone that I'm really high on particularly.
All right, Vegas 10-7. That's their defense. L.A., the Chargers, 9-8 last year, third place. And a lot of people like this team a lot because they like the quarterback, Justin Herbig, obviously, who is a young player but ascending player quickly. And this is an interesting offense here. I'm kind of interested to see, what your overview is of this Chargers offense with Herbig at the commands.
Justin Herbert. I think you had it mixed up with Nate Herbig.
Nate Herbig, yeah, geez. Can you imagine? Herbert, Justin Herbert, my bad. Good catch by you, by the way.
Justin Herbert, I think, is a player that has MVP potential this season. You started to see him really take that big leap forward in year two, and I think that now he's really taken ownership of that offense. He runs things, he has full command of it, and I think he's able. There's not a single throw out there, Mike, that he can't make. And you really saw someone like a Mike Williams really help him out and emerge really as a player. Remember, Mike Williams is someone that's really struggled with injuries dating back to his time with Clemson. So I thought that he really broke out, and you started to see the connection develop there. Keenan Allen obviously is any quarterback's dream, is someone that can get open against any kind of coverage. You know where he's going to be at all times. He's very sure-handed. So they have a really good pass-catching tandem there. And then Josh Palmer, the wide receiver from Tennessee, was someone he was drafted in the third round in 2021, and he played a little bit last year, but he's got some speed as well. So they have a really good variety there as far as their top three receivers go.
And they have a unique running back with Austin Eckler too. I mean, they use him very well.
Yeah, Austin Eckler is and I hate the term underrated, but I think he's sort of someone that gets lost and overlooked a little bit when you look at the top running backs in football. And I don't know that he'll ever be a volume guy, Mike. He's someone that has struggled with soft tissue injuries and things of that nature. But when you're looking at, I think he would be ideally suited to pair with a bigger bodied running back, a power guy, and work in tandem with that. But he is just a mismatch that can catch the football. He has some power to him, some really good contact balance, and a nose for the end zone. So he has a very unique skill set, as you've outlined. And I think that when you're Justin Herbert and you're looking to, you can sort of, you don't have to rely on his arm to make all the things happen for that offense. And you're able, that you have a confident running game and someone that could do a lot to help. He's also very good in pass protection as well.
Defense, they got names, Bosa, Mack. They brought in Van Noy as well. He's been a guy who, has been a versatile edge type of player. Kenneth Murray, a good linebacker. J.C. Jackson. This is a team, Asante Samuel Jr. They've got some definite talent on that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, fast and athletic, right? I mean, I think that's they've drafted well in that area, and they've really started to slowly rebuild that to sort of complement the offense that they currently have. So I think now what you're seeing is both the offense and defense are both up to speed and can play complementary football. Now they have a lot of young guys on offense. So the question now becomes, how quickly can everyone get up to speed and get on the same page and gel? Because just simply, obviously, as you know, having the talent doesn't necessitate having a strong unit. You know what I mean? But I love Nasir Adderley, Asante Samuel Jr., and Derwin James is one of my favorite defensive players in the NFL when he's healthy, of course. And then they have some athletic linebacker in Drew Tranquill and Kenneth Murray. Joey Bosa is always a threat to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year seemingly every season. So I really like what they've done to sort of build that defense up from pretty much the bottom.
Denver was last place last year. They finished 7-10. A lot of people really like this roster. They didn't like the quarterback. Well, they got Russell Wilson. What does Russell Wilson have to work with?
Russell Wilson has a lot of guys to work with. You know, I think that he has. Well, you wonder what you're going to have there in Jerry Jeudy, but I think that KJ Hamler's there, Cortland Sutton. There's a lot of weapons to sort of utilize there that he's going to have. So I think he landed in a pretty good spot. They always, to me, seem to be a quarterback away from really taking things to the next level.
So you kind of agree that this was the roster that was there. They were lacking the quarterback. So Russell Wilson, you mentioned, we'll see what happens with Jeudy, Tim Patrick. That offense, is that an offense that is a quote-unquote Super Bowl talented enough offense?
Yeah, especially with Russell Wilson directing traffic. I also don't want to leave out Javonte Williams, the running back, who I believe is going to really burst onto the scene and become more of a household name this season with an increased opportunity. They have a really well-rounded offense around Russell Wilson, and then you also have the dual threat ability from Russell Wilson himself. So I don't necessarily like to put Super Bowl labels on things, especially as we sit here in June. But it's a good offense.
Good offense. How about the defense? Bradley Chubb. They got Randy Gregory. They brought in. They have Patrick Surtain over there. They brought in Ronald Darby. Jeffrey Simmons is a heck of a free safety. Jackson. It sounds like they got a lot of good pieces on that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, particularly Simmons and Chubb are two guys that I really like that they have there. And as far as Bradley Chubb, unfortunately he's had some injuries that he's dealt with, but I think that he will have an opportunity. And we mentioned Joey Bosa just a moment ago. I think Bradley Chubb has the potential to be one of those double-digit sack guys that will eventually be mentioned up there with the upper echelon pass rushers in the league. And Simmons is a great center fielder at safety there, Justin Simmons. And he really burst onto the scene a couple of years ago and became more of a household name. And he's really been steady. I mean, when I look at safeties that don't really get the props that they deserve, I look at a guy like Kevin Byard with the Titans, and I look at a guy like Justin Simmons. Really solid players that can do a lot and really step up and really shine from a leadership perspective.
All right, Andrew DiCecco, Football 4, as we ask you to go through these teams, how do you rank the AFC West in 2022?
Well, let's see. I like the Chiefs. Then I like actually, you know what? No. The Chiefs' reign is over. I'm going Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders.
Wow. All right. Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders finishing in last. A big little mix-up from last year where the Chiefs have been, as you just kind of pivoted. Nope. You say the reign is over. You got Mahomes. You've got Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, and Justin Herbert, not Nate Herbig, playing quarterback in that division as well. 4 great quarterbacks, a lot of good teams. This division should be a lot of fun, and that's how he ranks them. Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4, InsideTheBirds.com here on the Sports Bash. All right, good one there, Andrew. Appreciate it, bud.
You're welcome, man. Talk soon.
All right, next week we will get into the NFC side of things. We'll stay out west and work our way east